morning, everyone. What's going on? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Weather-wise, I know the weather was pretty nice the last day and a half. All them storms that the Northeast got, all that wicked weather, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, some snow flurries, a lot of flooding there everywhere. But I just want to share some thoughts that I had about the women's college basketball in general. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Some of the crazy narratives that we've watched. You know, if you don't think it's about race, or you try to be objective and be like, nah, it's just a sport, these girls is innocent, or these girls have nothing to do with what's going on with the controversy, or what's being said, or, you know, make no mistake, think again. It's always about race. Race it is the underlying narrative that they use for marketing, that they use to push a narrative, to push an objective, to push policies, to push what they want to be told. You literally could watch something, nowadays with TV, and it ain't like 60, 70, 80 years ago where most people didn't have access to TVs, where you could push a narrative maybe 60, 70 years ago, and that narrative would last until people got the information. But it's different now because people see what they see. You can have two people watching the same thing and literally have not a different perspective, but could push a different narrative off of what they see, based off of what they want, how they want the story to be told, even though both people see it. So let's talk about Caitlin Clark first and foremost. Caitlin Clark, we all know, this year she broke the record for the WNCAA scoring title. So it's been a lot of talk about she's the GOAT, this, that, and the third, the best female basketball player of all time. Let's just talk about the record first. Her record, even though most mainstream people know that Lynette Woodard had the record that Caitlin Clark broke, but most may not understand that Lynette Woodard nobody would have caught her record had the NCAA been the governing body for women college basketball the whole time Lynette Woodard was in college. And this is where the goalpost gets changed because it's Caitlin Clark. And no fault of her own, because they push these narratives. Usually when you have records in sport, what they'll do is they'll grandfather other leagues that may join a league, like they just join, they grandfather a lot of leagues when it comes to records when they join. Case in point, like with all of us that follow baseball. I was a big baseball fan. I got friends that was baseball fans. We all know, statistically, what's been told is that Josh Gibson had hit over 800 home runs. So even though Major League Baseball and some historians acknowledge that Josh Gibson hit over 800 hit home runs, Major League Baseball never acknowledged it to the point where he had the record in home runs until Babe Ruth didn't use the records from when the Negro Leagues basically was accepted. So then, up until Hank Aaron, the great Hank Aaron, broke Babe Ruth's records. And then even, we all know, historians tell us about all the stuff that Hank Aaron went through all the death threats, all the craziness that Hank Aaron went through when he was approaching to beat Babe Ruth's record for home runs. So with Caitlin Clark having the scoring title, you never heard none of the mainstream media, none of these analysts, producer-driven shows really giving Lynette Woodard her due, really explaining what was going on and why the NCAA wasn't the governing body her whole college career and why her record wasn't talked about. So when they tell you, and I know it bothers a lot of people, makes people feel uncomfortable. So when they tell you it's not about race, it's always about race. So during this year's NCAA Women's College Basketball Tournament that just concluded, shout out to South Carolina, Dawn Staley, and they won, undefeated season. And if you look at Dawn Staley's career and you really, really look at her career as a player and a coach, Dawn Staley is a great player in her own right. Her statistics could be comparable to a lot of players. So during the basketball tournament, we all knew that the marketers, the collision course was going to be Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. So we saw how the media, LA Times had a writer who basically said it was good versus evil and dubbed the girls from LSU as evil. Dubbed the girls from LSU as, like the years ago Miami University had played Notre Dame, and they had labeled that game Catholics versus Convicts. These type of labels that they put on maybe the black athlete, I believe, or the athlete that may be braggadocious. But if you notice what happened against LSU in Iowa, who Caitlin Clark plays for, them girls constantly said Angel Reese always had to justify her position, and you never saw where they would interview Caitlin Clark and she would ever really even acknowledge a false narrative. The narrative that was being put out there favored her, so she never said anything on this good versus evil thing. Because nobody wants to be called evil. Everybody wants to be considered good, definitely wants to be perceived as good. Everybody, I don't know nobody that just wants to say I'm evil or I'm no this and that. So when Iowa won against LSU, there was a lot of talk about Angel Reese and how she should be. It's amazing how when an athlete, particularly a black athlete, and it's interesting the words they use is that sometimes when your sport is braggadocious, you hit a 3-point shot, you may put the three up in the air, you may blow kisses to the crowd like Vadi Divac used to do. Nobody never said nothing about humble yourself when he used to do it. Humble yourself. No, if you playing well in sport and you bragging, you got a right to pop your MF collar. You got a right to talk your talk. Now, some of us don't do it because we may know how life or losing may humble you. But it's always amazing to me how when you're winning and when you in your moment, your moment of emotion, the emotion of gratitude, you're told to humble yourself. Who the hell are you to be telling me to humble myself? Or anybody to be humbling themselves? So up until this game that was yesterday, the championship game, I actually watched, and I observed, and I actually saw some of the game yesterday, most of it actually. And throughout the whole broadcast, Ryan Ruocco, who was the lead play-by-play guy for ESPN, he kept referring to Caitlin Clark like she was the story. She was the main ingredient to the story, that she could do no wrong. Now, if you watch the game, Iowa came out, Caitlin Clark jumped on them early. She was on fire. She was doing her numbers. But if you understand basketball, eventually when it settles in, when you're a bigger team sometime and you're good, you're athletic. You knew that South Carolina's front line, them two big girls, was just going to outrain them. They destroyed them on the boards. When you shoot jump shots, anybody know if you, as they say, if you live by the three, you die by the three. But what was more concerning was at the end of the game when South Carolina tipped off their undefeated season with the national championship, and how the broadcast kept talking about Caitlin Clark. I've never seen a losing team or player at that time get that much attention. I remember when a lot of great players was having their farewell tour in the NBA, football, you knew it was their last game. They would talk about the player when they was great, but they wouldn't let that player overshadow, definitely if they lost while they was going out, they wouldn't let that player overshadow the champion. They did everything in their power yesterday to give Caitlin Clark a lot of coverage over celebrating South Carolina. Caitlin Clark's career is not over. Yes, it's over in college. However, it's not over as far as basketball. She's probably going to the WNBA, and which she's going to make money. She's branded, so she's going to be all right. But like I said, when they tell you it's not about race, or you think it's not about race, think again. These companies, they'll market it, and they'll always let you know whenever you have a white athlete that comes along that has been typically dominated by a black athlete in recent times, they'll let you know that person is the GOAT. Me per se, I'm a big basketball fan, big basketball supporter. I was a big Sue Bird fan. I thought Sue Bird was one of the best players. Came out of UConn. She was tough, unopposed to her lifestyle, but Sue Bird was really good. But no way did I ever think Sue Bird was better than Cheryl Miller, who arguably historians, people that play, people that watch and really understand the game, they all say Cheryl Miller was the GOAT. No way did I ever think that Sue Bird was better or had a better career than Diana Taurasi. No way did I ever think Sue Bird was better than Shamika Holcroft. No word did I ever think Sue Bird was better than Teresa Edwards, Yolanda Griffin, Tina Thompson, Lisa Leslie, Maya Moore. Like, goes on and on. And it's just amazing how this society, or the dominant society, pushes these narratives to let you know that you need to stay in your place. So when you think it's not about race, it's about race. First, second, and third. That's all. I just wanted to share my thoughts because it's very interesting. So I used to hear a lot of professional athletes say they watch sports with the sound down. I was like, why do they do that? I particularly, when I watch football, usually my sound is down for other reasons, because usually I'm on the phone with my brothers while we're watching football. But I think I may start doing that if I choose to watch certain sports, is watch it with the sound down, because these people are pushing narratives. Definitely these producer-driven shows, they always want to push a certain narrative that may not be true for what you see with your eye. And Caitlin Clark is a very, very good player in her own right. But the GOAT, or even that word GOAT, and every year, every 2-3 years we have this GOAT conversation, is really a disrespect to the history of the sport that a particular person plays in, where a person would ever say that they're the GOAT. We have to stop being slaves of the moment on certain things like that. But that's all I wanted to do, was bring that to the people and see y'all and chop it up. But you guys have a great day, man, and be good. Continue to do what you do. I know we having that eclipse today. If you into that stuff, do what you do. Celebrate it. Appreciate it. They tell you don't look directly into the sun. I won't go that far, but I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you what to do. But just do what you got to do, and have a good week. And we'll see you guys soon.